A friend was sentenced to a long term. Why is there so much injustice in the world? I ask myself this question every day, especially lately. It seems that the kinder a person is, the more bad things happen to him in life. This is an example of my friend. We have known each other since childhood. She's 35 years old. Her name is Tonya, and she is one of the best people in the world. She has always taken care of herself. She's so beautiful and smart. She got married before she was 20 and had 2 beautiful children, a boy and a girl. However, her personal life didn't work out, and her marriage fell apart. Her children stayed with her. Her husband went abroad after divorce and disappeared. There's no news from him. That's why the children are left without a father. He isn't gonna help them, and he hasn't even helped them after the divorce. Tonya is a very strong woman. She said he would come to his senses and want to communicate with the children and help them in some way, but that hasn't happened yet. No one knows what happened to her ex-husband, neither her relatives nor his friends. He probably made a new life for himself there and decided to forget about everyone, or maybe he is no longer alive. That's not the point. I don't care about this man. And my friend was good. She tried her best to provide for herself and her wonderful children. She worked several jobs, and they lived in a rented apartment. Her parents were no longer alive, and she was left all alone with all her problems. She loves her children very much and does everything possible for their well-being so that they live happily. I also try to help them as much as I can, from lending them money to taking their children to my place when she stays at work all day and night. My child is good friends with them. There are only a small age difference. As far as I understand, she cannot trust men, so she has been alone for over 3 years now. And she has no time to deal with her personal life, work, children, home. She has been through a lot in her life, and as soon as one trial in life is over, the Almighty throws her another trouble. And now my husband and I are trying to figure it out, how to help her in this difficult situation. The thing is that a couple of months later, she found some extra income. I didn't know what exactly she was doing. For some reason, Tonya didn't want to go into detail. After she got a job there, she started giving us the kids a lot more often because she didn't want to leave them home alone at night. The children practically lived with us while their mother earned a living. A month later, we found out that drugs were found in her possession, so she was detained. There was a trial, and she was sentenced to a long term. According to her, the drugs were planted on her. What a horror it is. We're all in shock still. I think someone just decided to set her up, and most likely it was one of those men she rejected. I suspect it may have been a man she knew who is either connected to crime or works for the police. I don't remember him, but I think he was free to do it. Tony said he wanted to be with her, but she didn't respond the same. He wouldn't threaten her, saying she'd sorry. Maybe he wanted to get back at her and show her that she couldn't handle being alone without him. I went to the police many times. I talked to the investigator. We hired a lawyer. We went to a court. But Alice, nothing helped. I even managed to talk to the judge through my husband's connection. But the case is very unclear. And no one helped us or just didn't want to. And yet it was the fate of a single mother of 2 children that was in question. I cried many times about hopelessness and helplessness. But no matter how much I cried, Tonya was in jail. And now the question arose, what should I do with the children? What to do with them? And what would happen to them? Their mother was in prison, their father was gone, and their grandparents were gone. Who needs them now? I can't talk about it without crying. An orphanage. No and no. I had to act very quickly, so I started begging my husband to let us take them in. And maybe even take them into our custody. Yes, 3 children is a huge responsibility, a lot of money, etc. And he said, are we the only friends she has? Why do we have to suffer now? Your Tonya made a mess of things and didn't think about the kids. And now we have to take the rap of it? Whatever he said to me in the heat of the moment, he loved me. So he agreed at the end. I tried really hard to change his mind about Tony and the kids. And I told him we could totally do it together. Besides, we were thinking about having a second child, but I was still thinking about that. And as it turned out, this horrible situation with Tonya and her kids being so miserable, I was definitely confident in my abilities. During all the court proceedings, they were still living with us. I had special conversation with them. I wanted to help them somehow. I explained to them that my mother would not be there yet, but that she would come back and take them away. We would go and see her sometimes, and maybe something will change. They will reconsider her case because they have filed an appeal. Or some kind of amnesty will happen and she will be released. In short, we're going to try to get her out of that creepy place somehow. And in general, let the police, the investigators, sort it out as a matter of justice. Let the awful man who planted the drugs on her answer for his action in full. Tonya had always supported me in difficult times, and now she needed help herself. Why are these terrible things happening to her? When is she going to get some closure in her life? I pray every night that this situation will be resolved for the better. That her innocence would be proven and she'd be free sooner. I promised myself and Tonya that I would take her children with me and then would be like a family to me. It was the least I could do for her and the children. In fact, I know firsthand how difficult it is to grow up without a mother, and so I consider it my duty to help these children. in every possible way. I set myself, my husband, and our child on positive thought only, and I don't forget about Tony. We still have a lot of paperwork, writing and running around ahead of us. However, I always believe only in the best and hope that justice is served.